Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about the greatest sin and the great betrayal from the great betrayer. But first, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I really appreciate it. And I really need the subscribes and the shares so that I can grow my channel, so that I can continue to produce MGTOW videos. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. I did a podcast last night for those about to rock. And it might not have been the greatest podcast that the universe has ever seen. I'm sorry to have to admit that, to have to say that, or to rather to suggest it. But I fear that it might be true. And now, let me assure you, okay, it's a great podcast and you should listen to it. But it might not be the greatest podcast of all time, because that's, what I'm going for. And what I mean by that is that it was a great podcast for me, right? But I don't know how great it was for people listening to it, because it was a explanation of my process podcast where I was describing a lot of my internal thought processes, and it took fucking forever, right? Because there was a few points there where I just said, and it just went on for like 10 minutes, which, might be some sort of a record in and of itself. So if you're interested in that, by all means, check it out. But I was talking about the betrayal of the self. And it is a sin to the self. And I'm talking about personal sins, not big mortal sins. I'm talking about the things that make us mad all the time. I'm talking about the things that we have running in our minds about past offenses, about injustices in the world. And it's you might not even be able to define it. You might not have a problem with any one particular person, but there's this fundamental problem that's bothering people. And it's not the same for everybody. It's different things. And it causes a whole lot of delay in the person's life and development and their growth. As a matter of fact, I cover this in the podcast, okay? But simply put, we adopt behaviors and mindsets to protect us from the difficulties in our environment. And, for example, like a mother that doesn't love you, like an alcoholic mother or an abusive mother, the child can't really face the idea openly, has to tell itself, no, my mother loves me, she was just late, things like that. She just ran out of money and, therefore couldn't feed me, but she still loves me. And we see this behavior with mammals. It's not just human beings. So this behavior, it's a lie to the self. It's something that we hide from the self. Maybe you think your girlfriend likes your best friend. Maybe you're just going to put it out of your mind, right? But maybe, you're putting it out of your mind so that you don't have to face it. So there's this betrayal of the self, of reality to the self. And we do it to protect ourselves, usually. And it influences our behavior. And then what happens is we forget why we started doing it. And now our behavior is being influenced by this defensive mechanism, this defensive psychological mechanism that we took on, and we don't know why it's influencing our behavior. Like I had some very abusive teachers as a very, very young child. And as a result, whenever a female teacher tried to tell me what to do, I wouldn't listen to her. There was just no way. And in, 90% of all instances, I was simply rebellious because it was a woman trying to tell me what to do. And my earlier experiences with my school teachers had told me that, I was obligated to not listen to them. I was required to not listen to them. I could not obey them, only if they seemed really very, very healthy, very kind, very friendly, what I mean? If there was any indication of hostility or abuse or anything like that, there was just no way I was going to listen to them. And this behavior persisted throughout my whole life, and I completely forgot why. You know what I mean? It was because I had, a couple really, really terrible abusive teachers as a very young child. So, and I'm just using this as an example to illustrate what happens. So this is how the neuroses develops. This is how the influence on the behavior manifests itself. And understand, the individual is keeping it hidden from himself. And then he forgets why he hid it. So, we're talking about the nature of women here, okay? Yeah, she's hot, right? She'll sell you out in the blink of an eye. She's your girlfriend. She likes your friend more. She's your wife. Well, don't lose your job. So These are the things that we hide from ourselves. And I can understand why, and I don't condemn it, but at some point we have to face these things. Otherwise they become sublimated into our personality. We forget why we started doing it. Now we've got this neurotic behavior manifesting itself. And then all kinds of terrible behavior manifests itself. Self-destructive behavior, self-defeating behavior, a lot of the conversation that we have going on in our own head, this defeatist attitude. And I encounter that a lot in MGTOW. And here's the thing, whatever the system is going through, you have to fight for your individual life, for the worth and the value of your individual life. And you have to make something of it. So, if women are just a bunch of entitled, hypergamous bitches, you still have to get up every morning and do your work and build your future. And maybe, you think that your purpose in life as a man is to mate and to have children, right? That's it. And, you can't do that. So it's like, well, so I don't want to do anything else. It's like, no, you can't really afford that type of an attitude. That's not like the smart attitude. It's like, well, the system is completely corrupt. There's nothing I can do about it. It's like, well, you can walk away from it. You know what I mean? But you're going to have to build your own system that works for you. You're still going to have to do something. So there's a lot of problems, and it affects your attitude and how you feel and what you should do. Like you shouldn't be playing a crooked game. This is a fascinating principle about MGTOW, okay, because it applies to everybody. Men are in a gynocentric, corrupt system that is exploiting them endlessly by their very nature, okay? There's no reason why anybody should be worshiping anybody. And men don't need to be worshiping women, and we don't have to be basically trying to virtue signal to everybody else. And the fact that somebody, is saying that they're offended, well, too bad. Too bad. No laws have been broken. There's no great injustice here. It's just women and children and dependents trying to use their emotional offense for attention and for power and for manipulation. This is how they do it. They might not even be completely aware of what they're doing. And when they become locked in on a certain frame of mind, a certain way of looking at the world, they develop a blindness to any other reasonable, rational view that opposes their own. So this is, part of what I'm talking about. We hide these truths from ourselves, and then we forget that we chose to hide them, and, they become this serious problem within the self. So it's the self betraying the self in order to protect the self, to hide these difficult truths from the self. And this really is MGTOW 102. This isn't, MGTOW 101, right? This is a little bit more advanced here. This is finding the flaws in your own nature, or the signs of abuse within your own nature. And to do that, you have to face the fact that, oh yeah, women have bullied me my whole life. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm faster, my intentions are better, I didn't want to hurt anybody. And yet women and blue pill men who play the victim, who whine and cry, have bullied and manipulated me my whole life. And it's manifested in my personality, in my behavior, so severely that I don't even recognize where it came from. I don't even remember, why it's there. Now, I'm not talking about things like simple biological reactions like approach anxiety and things like that. These instincts, they're real, and for a good reason, too. But that's more of like a MGTOW 101 subject, and I just mean the level of interaction. That is the nature, the situation, the social situation that we find ourselves in. And I would consider that, to be like a 101 subject. And now we go into this deeper, psychological analysis of how these events affect the individual man. And you can see it, you don't want to see it, but you can see it. You can see how the bad events of your life influence your views and your behavior. And you can see that if I challenge those views, right, like those views are, maybe they were wrong, maybe you made a mistake, you'll get angry. And I don't mean you, I mean, they're going to get upset if you say to them, these behaviors and these views and practices that you've adopted your whole life that you live by, you adopted them because you were getting bullied and you're no longer getting bullied, but you're still acting like it. Right. So it's like, no, you're full of shit. Right. So, people will get upset. They will get angry. Right. So what is that? What's going on there? Why do they blind themselves to it? This is, the crux of what I'm talking about here. And they can't face it. It's a betrayal is what it is. It's the superego, saying, look, I'm in charge here and everything is under my control and everything is cool and everything is proceeding according to my plan, right? That's what we're saying to ourselves. That's what we have to say to ourselves. It's all under control. Everything's cool. I've got it. But then the evidence starts coming back. Nope, the bitch won't listen to you at all. As a matter of fact, whatever it is you think needs to happen in this world, in this life, there's a bunch of people that as soon as they figure that out, they're going to do the opposite, just to mess with you. I guess I'm describing a situation where a man is trying to make the best of a situation, to try to deal with reality and bring about this positive outcome. And despite the evidence, he's constantly telling himself, it'll be okay, I've got this isn't as bad as it seems. And what I'm suggesting is that this admirable trait, this great quality, can go too far and can become this kind of like unwillingness to see things as they are. So much so that an entire civilization, Western civilization, just goes down the drain for some retarded virtue signaling, for some pathological altruism from people who are themselves, demanding that other people pay the welfare out, because it's the good thing to do. And that if you don't do it, you're like Hitler. And they don't know why, and they believe they're doing the right thing or whatever. So this is the issue that I'm kind of talking about, and how the man just going through the same situation over and over again and can't face the problem and correct it. Well, he doesn't want to. It's like protecting himself. This is part of the source of the red pill rage. The anger the anger is also directed at the self for allowing it to happen, for not seeing it. Like if you lose everything playing a crooked game, you can be as mad as you want at the people who set up the crooked game, but why the hell didn't you realize that it was a crooked game, a little while into it, and then stop playing? Oh, because it was the only game in town? Oh, okay, well then why didn't you create a new game for yourself? Why didn't you go find something else to do? So I'm kind of trying to talk about how men justify interacting with women, and how we neglect certain situations, and how we end up betraying ourselves in the process. So, but I am going to leave it at that for now, and I am going to have to come back to the subject in a future video, as opposed to some past video. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.